Hello, children. My name is Mimi Werna, the Storygenie. Welcome to After School on VOP 96.1 FM. On this show, fun meets African stories. Hello, hello, hello. Hope you're having a good day. I hope you had fun with stories during the week. Were you able to visit the ASB Maker app and the ASB Reader app? Did you make stories? Did you read stories? It would be nice to hear from you. Today, we're going to be reading two stories, and for our section for Africa, our section for Guess the African Country, we'll be reading another story to do that. Remember, I mentioned that today we will be, someone will have to call to tell me about the proverb for last week. Last week's proverb was a good story is like a good soup, it nourishes the soul. So, who is going to be the first caller who will be calling to tell me what this means? You can call on 0808 312 8618. I'll call the number again. It's 0808 312 8618. Okay, so let's see if I'll be getting a call from you. So last week we read How Stories Came to Be. We also read Anansi and Wisdom. I hope. Okay. So, anyone, someone, is anyone calling to tell us the meaning of the proverb for last week? Proverb says, a good story is like a good soup. It nourishes the soul. The number to call is 0700 010 961 961 and 0808 312 8618. So I'll be waiting. Okay. Okay, welcome back to After School. After School on VOP 96.1 FM. This is After School with Mimi Werna, the Storygenie. Okay, I was hoping someone would call to tell us the meaning of our proverb for last week. I'm going to wait a few minutes and then go on. I'm not going to tell you the meaning. I hope someone calls at some point so that we hear what you have to say about the meaning. If you don't, then maybe I'll tell you. Maybe, just maybe. Okay, so for today, I have two stories. I have two stories to read with you on the Tales Together with ASB Stories. Remember, ASB means African Storybook. The African Storybook works to ensure that children have access to openly licensed storybooks. That's free stories online. So you can access over 4,000 stories translated in over 200 languages. Isn't that fun? You can have access to as many stories you can read and just, have fun, learn, travel places, visit people, see different names, learn about cultures. Amazing, right? Okay. So, on Tales Together, I have a very fun story to read with you today. A very fun story. The story is, let me not tell you what it's about. I'll just read it and then get calls from you, and then we can discuss the story together. So for today, I have. Okay, I'm scrolling to find my story. Okay, for today, I have. Okay, I have with me Abel and his sister's doll. I wonder if you like dolls, or if you like cars or toys. What kind of toys do you like? Okay, Abel and his doll and his sister's doll. It's titled Abel and his sister's doll. Is written by Ayobi Kitol and illustrated by Jesse Breitenbach. So let's dive in. There was a boy whose name was Abel. He made himself a cart. Abel had no driver for his new cart. He said to his sister Mary, "I want a driver for my cart. Please give me your doll. She can sit in the cart." But Mary said, "No, I want my doll." When Mary would not let him take the doll, Abel was very angry. He grabbed the doll and pulled her. Mary pulled the doll's other arm. Abel pulled and Mary pulled. Abel pulled and Mary pulled. The doll's arm came off. Mary cried and ran to her mother. "Look, mother," she said. "Abel pulled my doll's arm and it came off. He wanted my doll to sit in his new cart, but I wanted to play with her." Her mother said, "Abel did not behave well." Mother thought about how to teach her son not to touch his sister's toys. She had a good idea. She went to her friend, who was a doctor, and she asked, "I want you to help me, please." The doctor replied, "How can I help you, my friend?" Mother answered, "My son Abel is behaving badly these days. He pulled the arm off his sister's doll. He must not do that. Tomorrow, I will tell him to bring the doll to you to put the doll's arm on again. Please tell Abel that he must pay for you for your work. He must pay you for your work. He doesn't have any money, so you will tell him to clean your big old car that is always dusty," said Mother. Her friend laughed and said, "Hey, that will be good." Abel's mother went back to her house. She asked Abel, When you're ill or hurt, where do you go?" Abel answered, "When I am ill or hurt, I must go to the doctor." Abel's mother said, "You hurt the doll. Now you must take her to the doctor." So Abel took the doll to the doctor. "This doll is hurt very badly. My mother told me to bring the doll to you. Doctor, can you give her a new arm?" The doctor agreed to look after the doll. She was able to make a new arm. The doctor said to Abel, "The doll has a new arm. You must pay me. How much money do you have?" Abel answered, "Please, doctor, I don't have any money. I can't pay you for your work." The doctor said, "Well, you don't have any money. My big car is very dirty. Clean my car, and that is how you will pay me." Abel got a bucket of water and a clean cloth. It took a long time to wash that dirty car. Then Abel took the doll back to Mary. She was delighted, and she said to Abel, "You are a good brother. Thank you for fixing my doll." "My sister, I'm sorry for getting angry and making you sad," said Abel. From that day, Abel never took his sister's things again. He tried his best not to get angry with her. Abel remembered how long it took him to wash the doctor's dirty car. He decided not to get angry or break things. The end. What a very interesting story. Very interesting. And I'm sure you learned one or two things from this story. And I wonder, have you ever had to drag things with your brother or your sister? Have you had to fight over toys or things or stuff? How does it make you feel when someone snatches something out of your hand? I wonder. It would be nice if you called and told me your experience or what you think about Abel and his sister's experience. The number to call, remember, is 0808 312 8618. I'll say the number again: 0808 312 8618 and 0700 010 961 961. I'll say it again: 0700 010 961 961. So I'll be waiting. Call me. Okay, so we're going on a very short break. We'll come back and I hope to hear from you soon. Oh, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I hope to hear from you soon. Remember the numbers to call are 0808 312 8618 and 0700 961. You can call, you can send a voice note, or you can text or send a message on WhatsApp. We'll be sure to read it or listen to it. Okay, so the last story we read basically told us about two children who are siblings, Abel and his sister, who struggled over a doll. The doll lost its arm, and the doll ended up in the hospital where a real doctor had to treat it, and then the brother, Abel, had to work on the doctor's car, on the doctor's big, dirty car, to pay for the work. And there he learned not to drag or fight over toys anymore, but to share. Interesting, right? I remember having that kind of scenario with my elder brother, where we dragged over something, and it ended up. I think it was my doll too. I think I had that same scenario, my doll, and it's interesting to see how this worked out in the story. Okay, so still on after school with Mimi Werna, the Storygenie on VOP 96.1 FM. We're jumping in to the next story. It's titled Amazing Daisy. It's written by Nozizwe Herrero and illustrated by Sia Masuku. Let's dive in. Once upon a time, there was a little farm near a little village. There lived a little chicken called Daisy. When I grow up, I want to fly high, high into the sky, Daisy said. But all the other chickens laughed at her. Ha 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 ha. You are so weird, they said. We won't play with you anymore. Daisy, we can all flap our wings, but it's very difficult for chickens to fly, Mama told her. Daisy wouldn't give up. Every day she practiced by herself, flapping her wings. Flap, flap, flap. She would flap her wings, but it couldn't lift off the ground. She imagined herself flying high into the sky. She imagined herself flying high and looking at the chickens below. She imagined herself flying past the sparrows and past the swallows. Wow, the birds would say, a chicken that can fly. So, flap, flap, flap. Every day Daisy would flap her wings. She would lift off the ground but fall down again. I'm never going to fly, Daisy cried to Mama. The others are right. Daisy, you are different from the other chickens. They don't want to fly, but you do. You can do it, Mama said. The following day, Daisy climbed to the top of the chicken coop and flap, flap, flap. She flapped her wings. She flew into the air and flapped her wings and flapped her wings and flapped her wings, and BAM! The other chicken laughed out loud. Ha 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 ha! We told you, chickens can't fly. But the next day, Daisy climbed even higher, right up to the top of the hut. Flap, flap, flap. Daisy flapped her wings. But she flew into the air and flapped her wings and flapped her wings and flapped her wings, and she kept flying. The wind beneath her wings grew stronger, and she flew higher and higher. The sparrows and the swallows said, amazing, a flying chicken. And the other chickens wanted to be just like her. They said, oh, Daisy, you are amazing. The end. Hoo hoo. I am so happy for Daisy. Amazing Daisy indeed. She flapped her wings and eventually flew like the other chickens. How cool. Okay, so I'd like to hear from you. I'd like to hear from you, my listeners. Hi, children, I'm here. You can call, send a message or a chat on WhatsApp on 0808-312-8618 or 0700-010-961-961. I'm here waiting. Call. Okay, so I'm thinking about. Okay, so I'm thinking about. Oh, someone is calling. Hello, afternoon. How are you? Who am I speaking with? Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Oh, hello. Hello, thank you for calling. It would be nice to try again. Maybe try again. I'm right here waiting for your call. Remember the numbers to call 080-8312-8618 or 070-010-961-961. I'll be waiting. Okay, okay. I wonder if we have an amazing Daisy among us. It would be nice to hear if you had a scenario like Daisy where you believed in yourself and others didn't, and then others caught on like Mama did, and then the others eventually caught on when you achieved, success likes, success brings in people flocking your way when you succeed. It's nice to be able to believe in yourself. There are times when you believe in yourself and others are wondering, okay, what's going on here? The important thing is to believe, is to dream. Look at Daisy. She dreamt of a time when the swallows and the sparrows would say, hey, amazing Daisy, a chicken that can fly. And she eventually did. How cool is that? Have you had a scenario like that? I would like to hear from you. Remember to call 0808-312-8618 or 070-010-961-961. It would be nice to hear from you before we move to the next segment. I'm waiting. Call, chat, send a voice note, or send a message. Okay. All right. So we're going to guess the African country. I will do that by reading another story, and then hopefully I'll call. Sorry, someone calls, and then I can ask if you can guess the country from the story I would read. So our last story is titled Africa Unity Race. It's written by Nina Orange and illustrated by Brian Wambi. Let's dive in. Kadogo and Juma are friends who love running. They run together every day. One day, they were reading maps at school. Juma said, "Let's run across our continent. Let's race together with Africans from many countries. Let's go! We can do it!" African unity cheered Kadogo. They decided to carry a unity torch on their journey. They lit the torch and began to run. The race started at the southern tip of our continent in Cape Town, South Africa. From South Africa, they headed along the west coast. They ran through Namibia, Angola, DRC, Congo, and Cameroon. Runners quickly joined them from these countries. A growing group of people rested in Nigeria in Abuja. More runners from West Africa joined the friends as they passed through Nigeria. They continued together, following the river Niger. A sandstorm in Mali made it difficult to run. Juma was the strongest of them all. He led the way safely, holding the unity torch high. At Guinea's coast in Conakry, the dusty runners washed in the sea. Then they decided to race to Morocco through Senegal and Mauritania. All the way, more people joined them. At Casablanca, the runners enjoyed playing on the beaches. They made more friends. Next, they set off across North Africa. They ran through Algeria and Libya and stopped in Egypt to visit the pyramids. Then they turned and headed east, following the river Nile to East Africa. They ran through deserts and national parks. More young people joined them in Kampala, Uganda. The group ran into Kenya and headed for its coast and the city of Mombasa. When they reached the sea, they sat on the beach and ate coconut rice with fish. Juma said, "Let's take the unity torch to Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania." But by this time, Juma was very tired. Just as they left Kenya, he fell down. The runners stopped the race. Everyone came to help Juma. Juma passed on the torch to Kadogo. He said, "You can carry the torch to Mount Kilimanjaro. Let's light a flame for African unity." After lighting a unity flame high on Kilimanjaro, the group of runners headed into southern Africa. People cheered the runners, saying, "You are our heroes. We are together." They stopped to swim in Lake Malawi and rest before going to the next country. Kadogo said to Juma, "We've run from the farthest point in southern Africa to the farthest point in North Africa. Now we are in the south again. Our journey is ending." The unity runners finally carried the torch to Great Zimbabwe, the ancient city of that country. Crowds gathered at this important place, cheering to welcome the tired runners. "We did it," said Kadogo. "What a race," smiled Juma. The end. What a race. I felt like I traveled around Africa. Indeed, we did. We traveled around Africa. And it would be nice to hear what you think about some of the countries you heard in this story. Okay, so numbers to call again. I hope I can hear one person. 080-8312-8618 or 0700-010-961-961. I'm hoping at least one person can call so that we can talk about this story or these stories that we read today. Okay, so in Africa Unity reminds me of the Olympics. You know, the Olympics just ended on Sunday, and we had some of us watched the ceremony where, the torch was lit and then it was transferred from place to place until you know, until it all went lit up, and then, ceremony was over and it was time for the Olympics. So it feels like, the Olympics where the torch, was passed from country to country, basically to remind us of unity. We are all one after all. Okay, so I'm happy you were able to travel along with me to these countries. Okay, if you want to read more stories, there's an app, like I mentioned earlier. All the stories are from the African Storybook. If you want to read them from the website, it's www.africanstorybook.org. www.africanstorybook.org. You'll find stories, over 4,000 storybooks to read, and they're all free, all picture storybooks. Just look out for the ASB approved stories and read them. You can also download the ASB Reader app so you can read more stories at home. It's like your library in your pocket. You can read using the ASB app. You can read stories on your phone or on the tablet. And then if you like to make stories, if you like to create stories, you can use the ASB Maker app. You can write your own stories and share with other people. Remember the story we read from last week, how stories came to be? Yeah. And it ended with us knowing that it's better to share stories than to store them or to hold them in a wooden box like Nyame did in that story. So it would be nice to share the stories you have in your imagination, in your head. That would be so cool if you're able to write stories. So, it's been a fun time reading stories and sharing stories with you. I'm hoping that we can have more time reading stories. Next week, I'm going to have a special guest joining us joining us on Thursday next week rather. It will be fun to have him join us. It's going to be his birthday, and so he'll be joining us to share stories. Would you want to have an opportunity to join me at some point? To be cool, right? Okay. So, I'm glad I had a fun time with you. And I'll mention very quickly our story for next week. It will be fun. We'll read them and we'll have fun together. Our African proverb for last week was, a good story is like a good soup. It nourishes the soul. I'm not going to say the meaning. I'm going to leave it to see if someone can tell us the meaning next week before I share a new proverb. Okay, so okay. It appears we have a message from someone. Okay, it says, oh yeah, I'm happy. At least I got to hear from someone. It says, hi, I am Victory from Chika. I remember when my mom gave me a phone and my senior brother told me to borrow him, and I gave him, and then he refused to give it back. Then I told my mom, but to no avail, so I went to his room and started dragging the phone, and the next thing, it was on the floor, broken, and then I left his room angry and I cried bitterly. The end. Oh my goodness, that must have been devastating, to have a phone broken. This, I'm sure, is in connection to our story about Abel and his sister. Oh, I hope you're able to fix the phone. So sorry. Okay. This goes to remind us that it's best to share than to drag. I'm sure if, it would have been nice for him to have left it for you to read, but for you to use rather, and he eventually didn't. If you probably were patient enough, or he was patient to give it to you and use later, at the end of the day, it reminds us of how working together, helps, which brings us to the Africa Unity race. It's important for us to, remember that we can share, we can have fun times together, and we don't really have to drag or be in any competition. Thank you very much. It was fun having you, Victor. Thank you so much. I hope I can hear your voice soon. And get acquainted with you. All right. It was a fun time on After School on VOP 96.1 FM. I am Mimi, Werna, the Storygenie. I'll see you